Well, hey everybody, it is Romania Black, and we are starting a new show today, and the title of which is much longer than I thought. So I have had this series on my radar for years now, like actual years. I started a segment called Januyaoi in January, like 4 years ago, and it mainly was looking at one-shot short series of BL or yaoi centered fiction. And this series, Cherry Magic, was immediately recommended, but the caveat was they were like, oh, well, at the time, they were like, it's just a live action movie or it's just a manga. And I was like, it feels like it's too long for me to do in one sitting. And so then as the years came by, they were like, well, actually, there's an anime being made. And I thought, okay, that's great. And then Cherry Magic has been in the polls, it's been recommended for years and years now. I just have not gotten around to getting it nominated and voted in as part of the channel lineup until now. So I was really excited that Cherry Magic won the recent poll over on Patreon to be the show that fills this time slot week to week. And I'm so excited that I finally get to see the anime. I do not, first and foremost, I know people are going to ask in the comments, I don't know if I'm going to watch the movie. I'm not usually like, sometimes I watch live action BL or yaoi, or in this case, Don Mai on the channel. I don't know if I'm going to get to the live action. I just don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get to the manga. I don't know. I'm going to say probably not. And that's just going to be, how it is. We'll see by the end of the series, right? But I know people will probably recommend it. So I'm like, just don't waste your wrists to do that. But we'll see. But for right now, I'm going to say no. However, I'm really excited to get into this series and see what it's about. Now, the title of it, as I'm watching this on a streaming service, the title is Cherry Magic, 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard. I don't know what that means. So I'm like, is this going to be involving Dungeons and Dragons? Is this involving magic? Is this... I like to go into these series. If you are joining my channel for the first time, I like to go into these series blind, meaning I know as little as possible. The only thing I knew about this series going in was it had a manga and a live action adaptation. That's the only thing I know about it. And I know that it's a BL, which I'm really excited about, but that's literally all I know. I don't know anything else about this series, and I like that. I like to discover alongside with the shows. So if you are commenting down below, I love to answer comments, but please don't spoil or offer hints or clues of things to come. I like to find out when the show tells me. I don't want to find out from the comments. I want to find out from the show. So that's my big, like, first and foremost rule. And I know that's hard for some people, but hopefully you can comment down below and we can enjoy this show and talk about it. I'm pretty excited about that. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon. I have a Patreon. That's literally the only thing funding my channel. So if you want to support me, whether it's $1, $5, or $10 a month, you are welcome to go do so. But the people that donate $10 a month, who are super kind and generous, I give them a shout out in my videos. So I want to give a special shout out this episode to Alex Cornejo, to Anime Annie, to Be Happy, to Bryant Reed, to Damage3245, to Dana, to Danger Zone, to Devorin, to Destiny Marie, to Alexandra Q, to Ichu, to Eric, to Fisho, to Ghostly Turnip, El Freya, Lindum, Liam Polzel, as well as Matthew Palfinier, Murphew, Adam Perez, Nicholas Nago, Sunspots, Shimoyama, Trails, Translucent Men, Starman AA, Bisa, and Ching Y21W. Thank you all so much for your support, and thank you for your support on YouTube, whether it's subscribing to me, watching the videos, or on Patreon, giving your girl some coins. All my love. I really appreciate it. But yeah, so if you are also new to the channel, you will probably be like, what is this girl doing reacting? She's just talking in this video. The link is down in the description to the reaction, and then we'll come back up here in the actual video and we'll talk about the episode as one does. So I'm a teacher and I like talking, but I'm also someone that really loves BL and yaoi, and so I'm really excited to talk about that as well. So we shall see, but I'm so excited to start the series. I've had a lot of people tell me it's going to be fun, so that has me really, really excited. But in any case, we are going to start episode 1 of Cherry Magic. 30 years of virginity can make you a wizard. Well, I better be the biggest wizard of all. So in any case, we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh, it feels good to actually be watching a BL. This episode alone has all of the hallmarks of like BL yaoi drama and angst and trying to figure out your sexuality. And I'm just like, okay, all right, show. It feels so good to be watching a series like this after watching lots of shows. I don't want to call them queer baiting, but there's shows where there's lots of subtext and you're just like, But here it's like, no, Kurasawa loves him and is very direct and is very open. And I want to talk about this episode and all the things along with it. Adachi, I love Adachi already. Adachi and I, we relate to one another quite well. So I'm kind of all about that, okay? So let's dive into that. Now, I did look up the two voice actors for Adachi as well as for Kurasawa because their voices sounded familiar. Kurasawa's was not who I was expecting, but as soon as I found out who Adachi was, I was like, oh yes, that all makes sense. Adachi's voice actor has played very queer-coded characters through a lot of series. His voice actor is Chiaki Kobayashi. If you don't know who Chiaki Kobayashi's voice actor is, he's been in a lot of series. What I know him most for is playing Longa in Skate the Infinity. But he also, not a BL, he also plays a romantically inclined character. He plays Stark in Frieren. And I was like, okay, yes. I think I recognize his voice as Longa, but I also forget that Longa and Starks has the same voice actor. So yeah, so Kobayashi plays him as well. He's been in a lot of other series. He's also going to be in two. I just was scrolling through his DMs, his IDM page. He's also going to be in two series that I know are BL, and I was like, oh man, you are getting typecast for all the things. And so I'm like, good for you. Good for you, Kobayashi. So he's playing Adachi, which I love Adachi so much already. And then Ryota Suzuki plays Kurasawa in the anime. Now, he's been in a lot of series that I know of, but the two that I recognized was he's been in Tsurune. He was Ryohei in Tsurune, and he also he's been in like Boruto and the new Bleach arcs. He also plays Wanima, the Wanima twins. I forgot the Wanima twins had the same voice actor in Blue Lock. So cool. I was like, man, not typecast at all, which is interesting. But he's been in a lot of series. He's in the Sakamoto days, apparently. He's been in a lot of series that I've had recommended on the channel. So that's interesting. He also plays Bruce Lee in My Hero Academia, which is great. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So good for him. Good for these voice actors. They both started voice acting around 2017, so they've not been in the business long, but good for them for getting these roles. This series is already, I love seeing a series that is literally, it's a BL and it's animated, and it's great to see it not just as an OVA or a movie, but a 12 episode series. I'm super excited to see where this series is going to go, because in this first episode alone, we had so many tropes, all of the angst. I appreciate where it's going. I'm like, okay, show, let's work. But I'll be honest, at first, whenever Adachi raises his hand up against the light, doing the classic angsty existential I'm thinking about my life phase, I kept thinking of Haru from Free. And I was like, okay, Haru, Adachi, why do these anime characters, I guess it's similar to ourselves. Why do we sell ourselves short? Because Adachi thinks that he's no good. He thinks he's lame. And I'm like, dude, you are very attractive. You have dark hair, those beautiful, like crystalline blue eyes. I'm like, you have a lot going for you, sir. Why do you think so little of yourself? But I feel like we all kind of have moments where we doubt ourselves and we kind of look down upon ourselves when we really shouldn't. But yeah, Kyoshi Adachi. And then we see from the beginning, the manga that he has out front is the same kind that Kurasawa reads, which is like Zombie Dead, which I love it. I love it. It's great. But yeah, Zombie Dead, which is fun. It looks like Walking Dead meets Attack on Titan, which I think is great. I love that. But he said that he's 30 years old because I remained a virgin until I turned 30. I gained a magical ability to hear people's thoughts when I touched them. I wish we could all gain that magical ability. Actually, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a hot second, because I don't know. At first, it's like, oh, gaining a magical ability because you remain a virgin for 30 years is fun. But at the same time, it's like, would you want would you want to be able to hear people's thoughts when you touch them? I don't think I would. I don't want to be Jean Grey from X-Men. I don't think I want to know people's thoughts because sometimes it's like one of those situations where ignorance is bliss. It's so tempting. It's so tempting because if you like somebody, you're like, oh, I could just touch and find out if they think the same. But then there's another part of it where it's like, what if you get an answer you don't want? And then you have to deal with it. Or like in Adachi's case, what if you find out your coworker has a massive crush on you? And then you have to deal with that at work every day. Like, that's crazy. So I don't know. But then there is another part he brings up where he's like, is this all a hallucination or can I really hear thoughts? Now, the series takes it a fictional route and says, yes, he can actually hear people's thoughts when he touches them, which, is for better or for worse. But honestly, I wonder if like it's also a commentary that once you get to be like in your 30s, you do kind of gain a sense of awareness sometimes that you didn't have when you were younger. And I don't want to tie that to like virginity or anything, but I do feel like, as I've gotten older, I feel like I've gotten better at reading people and kind of sensing the room and what people are maybe thinking just based on their nonverbals. But I don't, you can never tell, right? So I don't know. But yeah, he gains this ability to use magic. And then he's like, that said, he goes to I like the lottery, like the grocery store says, what's your number one chicken? She's like, thank you. And so she gives him the bag and he's like, if I accidentally touch them, she's like, oh, I can't. I can hear people's thoughts as I'm touching them. I like it's not an all day thing where once he touches them one time, he can hear their thoughts forever. I like that it's not that. It's literally when he just physically touches them, he hears them in that moment. Although, like Adachi says, the commute on a train with that power would be awful. And so then Adachi says, I thought about touching girls that I'm interested in to see how they feel, but I think it's interesting that he chooses not to touch the women and he ends up touching Kurasawa anyway. So there's a lot of ways to break this down. So he's like, if I were someone who could touch people, I wouldn't be a virgin at my age. Now, I didn't bring Whiteboard Kun out in this episode. And if you're wondering who Whiteboard Kun is, you'll probably see him eventually in this series because I feel like he's going to have to come out at some point. But I feel like this show in this moment presents us kind of a double meaning because Kurasawa, he touches Kurasawa out of curiosity, but then he's like, oh, well, if I was at first you think, okay, well, he hasn't touched these women to figure out if they like him or not because he's a nice guy and that is kind of creepy and intruding on, their private thoughts. So good for you, Adachi, for not going that route. That's smart. But then he phrases it as, well, I wouldn't be a virgin if that's the problem. I wouldn't be a virgin if I was able to touch someone and not be, bothered by it. And I was like, I don't think that's it. I think you're selling yourself short. I think that the reality is you are a nice person and so you're not being a creep, but also you're not sexually attracted to women. So that's never come up as an option before. Right. And I'm not saying that you are a virgin because you don't understand your sexuality. I don't think that at all. I think that there's a lot of reasons that more and more people, when I was in high school, the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin came out and it was like, a 40-year-old virgin? I'm 36 and have never done that, willingly with anybody. So I get it. And my own reason is, in my early 30s, I kind of realized I'm like, maybe I'm asexual and on that spectrum because I don't have that attraction towards anybody in that vein. So that was my own kind of coming to terms with that. But some people choose celibacy. Some people choose to wait until they're married and they just haven't found that right person yet. Some people are trying to figure out their sexuality and maybe just haven't come to terms with it. But I kind of know that I am attracted romantically towards people that are male presenting. So that's kind of, I have figured that out about myself, but I don't feel any like sexual attraction really towards anyone. I can read fiction, I can read yaoi and get it, but I just in real life don't feel that. And so with Adachi, I kind of relate and I feel bad for him because he assumes that, he's just lame and that's why he's not had sex. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's it at all. I think in Adachi's case, he has not come to terms with the fact he's not attracted towards women and that's why he's not made a move, right? I can say that I have gone a little bit further than Adachi and tried to make a move before, but then it just didn't end up working out for various reasons. So yeah. But then we have Kurasawa, who of course is Mr. Popular. The tall, strong, masculine appearing. I don't know if I would describe Adachi as a twink. Some people might, maybe, but I don't know if I would say that. But Kurasawa is definitely like the tall, strong, masculine, successful looking. And the thing about it is that I like about Kurasawa is he's a dork. I like that Kurasawa is a dork. He is in love. He's a big golden retriever. He just is a dorky guy that just happens to be hot. How genetics has blessed you, sir. Because usually it's like, I don't know. I would say of the people that I've met that are very, very, very attractive, some of them have just been kind of like boring and rested on their good looks their entire life. And you can tell and you're like, oh, My friend had a really handsome boyfriend once when we were in college and he was like so attractive. Like I was like, oh, wow, you are a very aesthetically pleasing, handsome man. But then you tried to talk to him for 5 seconds and it was just like crickets. Like he just wasn't clever. And he was just like, oh, you've been handsome your whole life and you've kind of rested on that. Okay, cool. But, and he was nice. It's just you couldn't have a decent conversation with him if you were trying to go beyond just like surface level stuff. And even she was like, I'm kind of just dating him now because he's hot. But she's like, I don't see any long-term investment. And I was like, ugh. But yeah. So the thing with Kurasawa is he's very attractive and all of the women there like are fawning over him. But I love that he can cook, that he is very attentive, that he's in love with Adachi, which, dude, I feel that. I've had crushes before where I've just really admired someone and been like, oh, I'm kind of in love with you and you as a person. But then, I get where he's coming from and I feel for Kurasawa. And we'll talk about it later in this episode. But he also like loves manga and he's kind of dorky and it's cute. And him and Adachi have so much in common and they get along great. It's just understanding your sexuality and admitting it that's getting in the way. But when he was like, shall we take the stairs to the 17th floor together? Like instantly that's like, oh, it'll be a good workout. I love Adachi's like he's too bright. Adachi's like a grumpy cat and he's like a golden retriever. I love that dynamic so much. But let me tell you, the moment that the ladies were all about him, I was like, oh girls. I hate to tell you this, but I don't think he's attracted to any of you. And we get that confirmed immediately after that because I've been there. I'm like, look, I'm not saying that there aren't heterosexual men out there who can't take care of themselves and be polished and present themselves as aesthetically pleasing. I'm not saying there's not because there definitely are and they know who they are. And that's the case. But as someone that's grown up in a rural area where a lot of heterosexual men just struggle with personal hygiene and presenting themselves, and then you see like a gay man who's like very well put together and you're just like, well, look at that. It's just like I felt that moment with Kurasawa. I was like, no, ladies, I think you're barking up the wrong tree. But that seems like it's a disservice to heterosexual men. So I'm sure there are very nicely dressed heterosexual men out there who are putting themselves together, doing it right. I just know from personal experience where I grew up at that when you see a guy like Kurasawa, you gotta get to know him to be sure. Now, here's the thing. Adachi says, I bet he lost his virginity when he was in his teens. That is a very big assumption. We cannot assume. When you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. We can't do that. So we don't know if Kurasawa very well could be a virgin as well. Although, if he is, he did not gain the abilities that Adachi has gained in terms of being able to sense what people are thinking. But maybe Kurasawa's not 30 yet. You know what would be amazing? If Kurasawa was a virgin too, and he turned 30 during this series, and he gained the same ability as Adachi, and they both could hear each other's thoughts. And then they both figured out that they're in love with each other and all of their insecurities via telepathy. That would be amazing. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I feel like Kurasawa seems older, but I don't know. And it could be that Kurasawa did lose his virginity before, but who knows? I mean, a lot of times with yaoi characters and BL characters, one person in the relationship is a virgin, or at least a virgin in terms of having sex with men, and the other one is more experienced. But sometimes in BL, that experience, like there'll be a male character that's like, yeah, I did lose my virginity to a woman, but that helped me realize I was gay. It's like, okay. So he's like, I kind of realized I didn't like it. And so it's like, okay. So that could be the case with Kurasawa. Kurasawa could have had sex with a woman and been like, oh, nope. And then realized immediately that that's not his thing. Or he could be a virgin like Adachi. We just don't know. But I like that Adachi's motivation was that with the women originally, he's like, I could touch them to find out they're attracted to me, but I don't want to go there. And there is like a little thin sliver of fear of rejection in Adachi's, line of thought where he's like, I don't want, to possibly be rejected. Originally, he wanted to just touch Kurasawa to see what he was thinking, to confirm that even though he was handsome and popular, he had a shitty personality. Because when somebody's really attractive and popular, if you feel insecurity about yourself, what you want to have happen is to prove that that person that's popular and getting lots of attention is actually a bad person, because it'll make you feel better about yourself, because then you're like, oh, well, they're a shitty person. They're just popular because they're hot. And that's really insecure, but a lot of people think that way. And I've had moments where I was like, you get envious, and I can be jealous and do that. And it's like, sometimes when you find out they're a bad person, you're like, okay. And that's an awful way to think. And I try not to do it as much anymore, but I've been there. And then there's times where it happens and you're like, well, because there was a guy that I had kind of a crush on that was a super nice person, but then he was dating this girl that she was just great. She was just wonderful. She was really pretty. And then there's a chance where you're like, well, maybe she's a bad person. No, she's really great. And you're like, all right. Like, never mind. Because you're just like, no, they're a great person. It's, and you can't get mad at it. You're just like, whatever. And so then he touches Kurasawa and realizes that Kurasawa has such a crush on Adachi. And he's like, that bedhead's so cute. And at first, Adachi's like, well, I thought he had a girlfriend. He was in love with someone at work. Who could it be? I like this one guy with the glasses in the back is like, don't look at me. But I'm glad they didn't draw it out that within the very first opening scene, Adachi realizes that he's the one that Kurasawa has the crush on, especially after he's been kabedoned like right beside him. I mean, the height difference is great. Also, not to get into Attack on Titan too much, but Erwin Smith and Levi, I mean, it could be. So yeah, so then we have the OP, which the two of them, if this is a BL, and they're just going to tease us the whole time. They're just going to tease us the whole damn time. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So we'll see where this goes. I just want these two to end up together, but a series like this that's already giving us angst in the first episode, they're going to drag this out and make us work for it. How dare they? So yeah, so Adachi wonders if he's imagined everything, which honestly, I think for his sake in the work environment, it would be better if he imagined that it was all hallucination, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And of course, he thinks that Kurasawa is perfect like everyone else, which here's the thing. He notes how all the women are attracted to Kurasawa and they all think he's amazing, but then he's doing the same thing the women are doing. And I'm like, dude, you have a crush on him as well. You just don't want to acknowledge that you are attracted to him, whether it's romantically or sexually or whatever. I'm like, but you are, but you are. Because a lot of things and that's kind of where the subtext comes in some series, like how people are. Because I mean, I talk about this in other series where there's a lot of subtext of BL or GL relationships. And I'm like, if you have a friend, there's vibes of friendship and there's vibes of being a friend. But the line of thought that Adachi has about Kurasawa, you don't have that about someone you're just friendly with. You just don't, right? Especially when he thinks of how Kurasawa likes him and he's like, well, what could he possibly like about someone as lame as me? And it's like, you're selling yourself short, my dude. Now, this one manager that gives Adachi all the extra work, I'm like, he clearly has a Napoleon complex, because it's like, come on, dude. Like, why are you being so mean to Adachi, but then you're nice to Kurasawa because he's attractive? Like, come on. That's not fair. That's not nice. So, of course, Kurasawa stays after work to help him. And the thing about it is, Kurasawa is interesting because he notes how Adachi is diligent. He's hardworking. The manager should give him a break. He's like, I'll help you in whatever you want. Like, he clearly values Adachi as a person and thinks he's a great guy and thinks he's worthy of adoration. And he has a very kind thoughts about him. But Kurasawa is not no pure lamb. Kurasawa has some sexual thoughts that he's thinking of with Adachi. Like, he's like, oh, and he also has this feature, and I really want to fantasize about him. And honestly, that feels very human. Like, Kurasawa is not some knightly saint that's just like, I just want to help him and don't have any impure thoughts about Adachi. Like, no, he's a human. He's a human. He has sexual desires. He's attracted sexually to Adachi, and that's what he thinks about him. And he's very honest to himself about it. Like, he has come to terms with, yes, I want to sexually do things to this man, but I'm nice to him because that's the decent thing to do. And I think that that's, very healthy. Now, Adachi, of course, because he hasn't really, come to terms with his sexuality, he doesn't really have those sexual thoughts. But, he thinks that he likes Kurasawa, which I can relate to a lot to Adachi in this episode. But I don't, honestly, I can't say, as someone who is on the asexual spectrum, I honestly have never looked at somebody, even if I had a crush on them, or even if I was romantically attracted to them, I've never looked at somebody and had the thoughts like Kurasawa had with Adachi here in this episode. I can't say that I have. And I guess that's kind of just a testament to me coming to terms with how I am, because I'm like, no, I've never really thought that about anybody. Nothing lewd like that, right? So I say lewd like I'm clutching my pearls. But yeah, and so Adachi kind of the same way. Now, Adachi could be demisexual. He could just be gay and not realized it yet. But he's like, no, he actually likes me. And so when he goes, I do like when they're leaving the building, he's like, is he going to force himself on me because, we're the last two here? But Kurasawa does not. He offers him a scarf. He's super nice. And he just wants to be kind to him. Right? So then Adachi's like, wow, he's such a nice guy. I feel bad for thinking that about him. And that's when he says, next time maybe you'll have to thank me with your body. Which is it definitely is a BL trope. That was the one line of the episode that I was like, okay, BL, okay, Yaoi. Because it seems like that's like the go-to, which does it feel a tiny smidgeny bit out of character for Kurasawa to say that because because that would give a hint that he likes Adachi and he doesn't want him to know that? Maybe, but I'll give it a pass because he was just like joking in the moment and he just let it slip, right? And then it almost seems like he corrects himself. He's like, oh, what do you imagine, you pervert? It's like he's self-correcting. And the thing about it is, because when Adachi asks, is he joking or not? In that moment, Kurasawa has his eyes closed and there's like a little sweat drop where he's like, ah. So Adachi doesn't know, because he hasn't touched him, like how he's feeling in that moment. It very well could be that Kurasawa let that slip and he was like, oh, cover. Oh, what are you, a pervert or something? Like, it could be that Kurasawa was freaking out in that moment and Adachi just was not able to see if he was joking or not. So he's going to pay for a taxi, and he does seem kind of down when he offers to pay for the taxi. And then Kurasawa's like, well, you could just stay at my place if you want. Now, that is very much like any time a character's like, or you could stay at my place, that's context. That's not subtext. Mm-hmm. Which the good news is we know that Kurasawa likes Adachi, so we don't have to guess. We know that he does love him and he's sexually attracted to him. But yeah, I'm like, I've never, in Adachi's case, by accepting that offer, knowing what you know about Kurasawa and knowing what could be on the table, I'm like, you are inadvertently acknowledging that there's some kind of attraction there. Once you accept that, it's like, if you didn't like him at all And if you didn't want to test the waters at all, then you would have said no and paid for the taxi and just been bummed about the lost money. But if you weren't attracted to him in any sense, you wouldn't have felt bad about leaving him behind. But I'm like, Adachi, you clearly are testing the waters, even if you don't mean to, right? And I hate that he gets onto himself about Kurasawa being a nice guy. He's like, if it's not too much trouble, I'd love to stay at your place. Now, the thing of it is, he can only hear what is in Kurasawa's head. He can't see what Kurasawa is seeing. So Kurasawa, when he's like sitting there fantasizing over Adachi being at his house and just saying it and just imagining Adachi saying his name over and over again, Adachi has no clue what he's doing. He's just like, why are you saying your name in your head over and over again? Which I love. I love it. I love that there's that disconnect. It's great. So yeah, then we get the little intermission card, which is him catching him at work. Love this. Love these two already. He says that he has like a popular guy. Here's the thing. He says, oh, his place is dripping with popular guy vibes. I just get that it looks like a normal apartment. I'm like, I think, Adachi, that's you projecting your crush onto the moment. Because like he just has a regular love seat, has some nice ferns like the foliage, has like just a little pop-up chair. He's got manga and a bag of chips. And then like he has a picture of a record and a dog and a cat. Like, I think it just gives like just regular dude apartment vibes. But I'm like, I think that's you projecting that you believe is popular. And you saying you can't relax, that's another sign of sexual tension. Because like if you were just visiting a friend's house, there wouldn't be sexual tension, right? Yeah. And so of course they connect over the manga, which is super sweet. And they both realize they have similar tastes. I'm like, come on, And then he's like, here's the pajama. Now, I will say, other than the sell me your body line, the fact that Kurasawa bought a pair of PJs that fit Adachi that are matching his eye color on the off chance that he would one day come to his apartment, that's a little much. But you know what? You're young. Maybe I get it. That I would be a little creeped out if some guy had pajamas for me already picked out, ready to go. I honestly think it's more romantic if you do like the boyfriend shirt or the girlfriend shirt where it's just like you're wearing their clothes and that's kind of like, I think that's more, I think that is more romantic than someone already having a pair of pajamas picked out for you. But to each their own. To each their own. I do believe that when he came out though, and then Kurasawa was like, here, I'm going to go take a bath too, and took forever in the bath. I'm like, sure thing, Jan. So yeah. So then Adachi says, would this have been simpler if one of us were a woman? I don't think it matters. This is kind of my thing. And again, I know society, as someone that supports LGBTQ plus, A plus, and falls on the outskirts of that spectrum, I'm like, it just always baffles me why this can't be simple. Why it can't be simple. Why does it matter whether one of them was a woman or not? Like, why does that matter? You're romantically attracted or sexually attracted to them. What difference does it make? They're just people like you. And I know I'm saying something that is controversial yet brave, apparently, but it just feels so silly that he even has to think that. Because it's like, if you like him. Now, granted, there is the fact of sexuality and cultural acceptance. And that's a thing. But for Adachi, it's more than just that. He's not even at the point of being like, he's not even thinking about his sexuality in terms of this. He's not even thinking about sexuality. He just brings up the fact that, would this be easier if I was a woman? I think the big thing is he is doubting himself because he has no romantic experience, which is so fair. I don't have a lot, but a big, hindrance that I always feel in like telling someone about your attraction to them is if you have no experience, you're like, well, what do I do then? What do we do then? Is there a right way or a wrong way? But the other thing that he worries about is, he knows that Kurasawa likes him, but he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. So what if I do things wrong and he goes from liking me to thinking I'm lame because I don't know what I'm doing, and then that leads to rejection, and then it's just like, oh, the one person that admitted they liked me, now I don't have a chance with them because I messed it up. So there's like all these layers of insecurity that I'm sure any of us could feel in a situation romantically, because if you feel like you're inexperienced, or you feel like you don't know that person enough, or you feel like you're going to mess it up, then that just affects the entire dynamic of the entire relationship. And it's like, it's wild, right? So I feel for him. I really do. I feel for him, and I don't blame him for instantly being like, I need to just go to sleep. I appreciate Adachi just instantly agreeing to go to bed, because he's like, I don't want to create an awkward sexually tense situation that I'm not prepared to deal with. That was mature on Adachi's part. I thought that was very well handled. Now, whenever Kurasawa goes to get the phone, I mean, the lingering there, he was contemplating something to do, or he was at least taking in the view. And one thing that I do like that this show does do is it briefly gives us Kurasawa's perspective as well. Like, we know Kurasawa likes Adachi, so we are given Kurasawa's perspective, even if just for a brief moment. And I think that's helpful because it does give some context to what he's thinking as well, that he's just as insecure as Adachi. He's insecure because he's like, if I tell Adachi I like him and he rejects me, he's going to feel the same way. But I'm like, you both are bakas. You both like each other. Just, why are we making this difficult? Just come out and say you like each other and go with it. But we can't have nice things. So now, I will be honest. I am like Adachi. I'm not a good cook. If you've watched my Dungeon Meshi videos, you know firsthand that I'm not. So I will say, any partner that can cook for me, you've instantly earned all of the brownie points. My one friend from high school, I get envious of her so much because she has a husband. She locked that down in grade school. Her and this man have dated each other since second grade. And you would be thinking, that's weird. They've never dated anyone else. No, but they are the definition of like love at first sight soulmates. They love each other so much, and it's like the rare unicorn miracle rainbow relationship. But girl locked that down. She works as a registered nurse, so she's an RN, and he is a barber, and he's like got like the tattoos, and like he looks kind of like Adam Levine from Maroon 5. And she posts all the time. She posts Snapchats where she's just like, she gets home from work as a nurse. They have 2 kids, and she gets home and she has like a glass of wine, and he cooks for her. He helps style her hair. I'm like, girl. And it's not even jealousy. I'm just like, you locked that in, and I don't blame you. I'm like, that is the smartest thing. But yeah, it's just like, he's a nice guy that has these talents, and she's just like, yep, works out, balance it out. I'm like, girl, that is amazing. But yeah, if any man cooked like this for me and offered me to come over every morning and have breakfast with him, I, I'd be like, look, I'm not meaning to be a mooch, but I'm gonna take you up on that. So I was like, Adachi, you should take him up on this idea. Come on now. But yeah, I also don't blame Adachi for being scared, because Kurasawa's love is so strong. And if he has no clue about his own sexuality, nor has any clue about how to go about a romantic relationship, that is insanely intimidating. That's really intimidating. And I'm not going to lie, I would probably be in the same position as Adachi. I'd be like, I don't know what to do. Like, what if I mess this up? And I just need to like baby steps. But the fact of the matter is, Kurasawa doesn't even know that he knows that he likes him. So it is a little unfair to Kurasawa, who has no idea that Adachi knows, that he doesn't realize he's coming on strong. And if Adachi would just tell him, then Kurasawa could probably adjust. But you know, we can't have nice things in this show. So yeah, the one manager is really a jerk, trying to like give Kurasawa credit and saying he was helping Adachi. And I'm glad that Kurasawa spoke up for Adachi and was super nice. But giving them the coupon that expires for the date, that was just mean. That also feels like it is a good representation of the manager's personality as being kind of slimy. Because I'm like, really? Really? You gave him an expired coupon? Okay. Like, that just seemed kind of lame. I was like, that sucks for y'all. And so he's like, I hope you continue to help him. And of course, in the meanwhile, Kurasawa is like, yes, I will definitely continue to help him. Thank you for your blessing. And Adachi is like, I hate every minute of this. So they go on the barbecue date. It's super nice. One thing I do like is that throughout this series, Kurasawa has not pressured Adachi to drink or hasn't pressured him to do things, which I really appreciate. Sometimes in BL that happens and I'm like, I really appreciate that there's not that. But also they both get along and have such a great date. Like they're just enjoying each other's company and having a great time. Like that's what you're supposed to do on a date. Like it doesn't seem like too much gushing. It just feels so normalized and domesticated. And I'm kind of like jealous of them for having this moment. But then there's the part where he can't pay for the coupon being expired. And now I'm curious what you all think. So I've only been on a couple of dates in my lifetime. Some of them great, some of them not great. I've been on dates where we've split the bill. I don't think it's weird. I feel like it's fine. It feels, like you're going on a first date. You don't know where this is going. Why put extra pressure on someone? So just split the bill. It's cool. I don't know. I feel like as a woman in America, it's kind of culturally like it's expected. At least when I was younger, it was expected that the guy pay for the date, and that's kind of sexist in a way. But it's like some people call it chivalrous, some people are like, oh, that's sexist. I'm just like, My thing is, my personal opinion is, if you ask the person on the date, then it should be okay for you to pay for it. So if I ask a guy out on a date and I was like, oh no, I got this, I feel like that's acceptable because you asked them to go on the date. You put pressure on them to say yes or no. So if you offered the date up to them, then if you want to pay for the date, that seems kosher. So if a guy asks me on a date and he's like, oh no, I got the bill, I'm like, okay, cool. But I also think there's like a lot of etiquette with first dates as far as the payment and what you get. So for example, if a guy took me out to like a sushi restaurant on a first date, I think it's only fair at that point to don't order a sushi boat. What I'm saying is, when you go out on a date, if somebody asks you on a date, I think that the polite thing to do is like maybe not get a salad or something, get what you normally get, but don't like order a damn filet mignon and surf and turf with lobster and make the guy pay like $50 and then ghost him. Like that's kind of being an asshole. But like if somebody asked me on like a sushi date, I get like a sushi roll. I'd be like, okay, I'll get a roll and some rice, and I don't want to charge him so much, especially when I know he's paying for it. But at the same time, I don't want to eat just like a salad and soup and not be myself. So I think there's an etiquette to it. But then if you go into the date knowing that you're going to split the bill, then you get whatever you want, right? So I think that there is like some give and take there. But I know what Adachi is coming from, or where he's coming from, because he's like, I don't have enough money to pay for this whole meal. And so Kurasawa's like, this is my chance to be a good boyfriend. I make it a date. I'll pay by card. And, what Adachi could have done was just pay him back later. But Adachi had a panic moment and was like, shit, I have a panic moment. And he's like, I don't want to. I appreciate Adachi not wanting to lead Kurasawa on when he himself has not come to terms with his sexuality. I appreciate that because Kurasawa loves Adachi. His feelings are strong, but by him paying for the entire date, it does put a little bit of pressure on Adachi. And if Adachi doesn't even feel confident about his own sexuality, that's a lot. And so I get why he would not want Kurasawa, he wouldn't want him to feel obligated, right? And Kurasawa didn't mean anything bad by it. He was just like, you can pay me next payday and whatever. But when Adachi says Kurasawa seems to like me but never makes a move, I'm like, well, he's probably not making a move for the same reasons that you're not making a move, because you both are afraid of rejection and you don't want to ruin what's between you both. And it's totally understandable from both sides. And he's like, well, maybe things are fine the way they are. But I want to talk about this. Adachi's like, well, maybe we can just do this like it is. I know that Kurasawa likes me And, if we go out on some dates and just hang out, he's a good friend. It's fine. We'll just keep doing this and we'll just stay in this little friend zone. I like spending time with him and it's fine. But then when he goes to get the mint afterwards, he realizes Kurasawa is on a different level. Whereas Adachi's like, oh, we're just friends. And if he pays for my meal, whatever. But Kurasawa, to him, this is pretty serious. Where he's like, this is like a dream. Where he says that now I have an excuse to go out and eat with him again. And he's like, I love him so much and I'm so happy. And Adachi suddenly feels extremely guilty because he's like, am I taking advantage of Kurasawa's feelings? Where he's like, I don't even know if I can reciprocate these feelings yet. I don't know about my own sexuality. I don't know what I think. He's like, I don't want to feel guilty taking advantage of you and your kindness and your love when I can't even commit to giving that love back. And I respect Adachi for that. The problem is because Adachi can hear Kurasawa's thoughts and Kurasawa doesn't know that, Kurasawa is kind of thrown for a loop being like, well, are you rejecting me? What did I do wrong? I thought I was being nice. Like, what's happening? So I feel bad for Kurasawa because he doesn't understand the context of what's happening. I respect Adachi for not wanting to take advantage of someone's kindness and friend zone them knowing that they love them. But at the same time, I want to grab both of them and gently shake and go, figure this out. And I feel like that's what they're going to be doing the entire series. So I'm just going to buckle in for that. I don't like how Adachi is so down on himself. He needs to figure himself out. And I feel bad for Kurasawa because he literally loves him. And it's so sad. I'm just like, ugh. And I feel like hopefully Kurasawa realizes that Adachi is just being nice and just not wanting to take advantage of him and just thinks that it's that. But I'm like, ugh. And of course, Adachi feels bad after he does it because he's like, I didn't want to make him feel bad. And I'm like, you boys just need to have a sit down. So then we have the end credit scene. And look, I've watched enough yaoi and BL. And this Edie is very tempting. I'm like, if you don't give me a kiss by the end of this show, I swear, you teasing me like this, how dare you? But here's the thing. I've watched enough BL and enough yaoi to know that in every series with BL, there is always a childhood friend or coworker third wheel. There is. Yes. So we don't even know the name of this guy yet, but he's already checked off the boxes. He has Adachi on a first name basis in his phone. And he's like, oh, what are you calling it this hour? Mr. Deep Voiced Glasses Man. And he's like, oh, that's fine. I understand you better than anyone else. Oh, do you, Megumi-chan? Do you? I'm like, uh-huh. Mm-hmm. There's always a character. They either are childhood friends or they are work friends that know from work, but they have a secret crush on the character and they're going to be a wedge in between this pairing to try to make a damn love triangle that doesn't exist. And I'm like, that's you, sir. Okay. My thing is, the only thing I have questions about, which I don't want answers in the comments, I want to find out as the series goes on. This guy seems to, I instantly think he likes Adachi. Instantly. Because he's like, well, I understand you better than anyone else. Do you now? Does he have psychic powers? Is he a 30-year-old virgin that gains psychic powers? And how does Adachi not know what he really thinks? Unless they've never touched before, which, you think that you and your besties or work friends would have touched before, but I thought about that after watching this segment before starting the discussion, and there are literally some people I work with that I have never physically had contact with. So, yeah, I guess it could happen. But this guy gives vibes of meddling, and I don't know if I'm ready for the meddling vibes. Anyway, I'm super excited that we have an actual BL series that I'm actually watching. I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to talk about all the tropes and everything with Adachi and Kurasawa. I'm just like already shaking them about the angst, but I'm so ready for more. And it's going to be hard to wait each week before starting the next episode. So I hope you understand that. But anyway, I'm super excited to hear your thoughts down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back very soon with episode 2 of Cherry Magic. Bye.